like to introduce you to Christine McGuire, a self-proclaimed maverick measurement maven. She was an instructional technologist ahead of her time, working in a professional world dominated by men. Her peers described her as unconventional and stubborn, yet her contributions to medical education are still significant over 50 years later. Although the following interview is fictional, it is based on the factual publications by and about her. McGuire's own words have been used as much as possible in this narrative. Mrs. McGuire, how would you describe your career path?
I am a maverick measurement maven, an unconventional kind of guru, a very knowledgeable, wise one, who is a little arrogant. I've accomplished what I have because of good common sense and sound logic. Honestly, I just made it up. Evaluation is probably the most logical field in the world, and if you use a little bit of logic, it just fits together and jumps at you. It's very common sense, though I have to say, rather than an exemplar of rational career development, I am an exemplar of the rewards of serendipity.
Serendipity? Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
I grew up in an academic, practical Midwestern family. My father was a professor at a small college in Ohio. I graduated with my first degree, Bachelor of Arts in English, in 1937 when I was 19. By 20, I had my master's in education from Ohio State University. Jobs were scarce in 1938, so when our family friend, Dr. Ralph Tyler, offered me a part-time research assistant job at the University of Chicago, I seized the opportunity. This job enabled me to serve as an understudy to leaders in the field of evaluation, who were developing innovative tests of critical thinking and social sensitivity in the social and behavioral sciences. Working as a research assistant financed my graduate study in the Department of Economics at the University of Chicago. I graduated in 1941 with my master's in economics and was appointed faculty of economics at the university. Shortly thereafter, I was named chief examiner for social and behavioral sciences under my mentor, Dr. Tyler. During my tenure as faculty, I led the development of comprehensive social science examinations, testing intellectual skills such as interpretation, extrapolation, analysis, and synthesis.
So you were an economics instructor?
Yes.
How did you go from economics to medical education?
Well, it was in 1961 that I was approached by Dr. George Miller, MD. He was a medical doctor. He was the founding director of the new Office of Research in Medical Education at the University of Illinois College of Medicine in Chicago. This was established to help in the assessment of physician competence. Honestly, it was a gigantic leap to involvement in the assessment of physician competence. Protesting my complete ignorance of medicine, I agreed only after repeated requests to consult informally with the University of Illinois College of Medicine faculty about test construction. I was so captivated by the ferment that permeated medical schools in the early 1960s, I resigned from the University of Chicago, renounced economics forever, and moved to the University of Illinois. Working in that medical school was so exciting and challenging and presented so many interesting new things.
So medical education was a second career for you after 20 years of teaching economics. How is that even possible?
When I entered the field of medical testing at the age of 43, the emerging field of medical education was young enough to embrace a person like me, who could boast neither a PhD nor formal credentials in either medicine or psychometrics. Why did I do it? I suppose I have a very deep confidence in myself, which may be pure arrogance or ignorance. I do feel very confident about judging, if you'll pardon my expression, crap versus something sensible. I ended up serving as professor, associate director for the Center of Educational Development, and head of the Center's Division of Research and Evaluation till 1988.
You have authored over 150 articles on every aspect of medical education, co-authored and edited standard reference books and monographs, served as president of the National Council on Measurement and Education, chair of the AAMC National Group on Medical Education, and president of the Division of Education in the Professions of the American Educational Research Association. You have consulted with numerous medical schools, the World Health Organization, professional associations, medical specialty boards, as well as licensure and certification authorities. Of all these accomplishments, what would you consider your most important legacy?
Wow, that's quite the list. One of my enduring legacies would have to be the comprehensive exam program I developed. Many of its components were widely imitated. Its influence is still visible in virtually all major testing programs in the United States, and the philosophy on which it was based permeates the field today. I created a most usable taxonomy of intellectual processes based on Bloom's original taxonomy of educational objectives in the cognitive domain. For medical faculty, it was a practical way to review examination items and far easier to use than the Bloom taxonomy.
What would you say you are best known for?
I'm probably best known for the development of patient management problems, or PMPs. PMPs are objective written simulations of clinical problem solving, and they've played a major role in certifying examinations, not only in medical schools and specialty boards, but also in many other health professions. I first developed them as a part of an evaluation project for the American Heart Association. I sat down with the fellows from the Heart Association, and I said, when a patient comes in to see you and says, "I heard," what is the first thing you do? I tried to make them talk about what were the differences that led them to say one thing or the other, and out of that we made management problems. In terms of long-range significance, PMPs represented one of the earlier, if not the earliest application, of the idea of simulation in the arena of medical education.
What would you say is the greatest reward and joy of your professional career?
I take most pride in contributing to a different view of what constitutes assessment of competence. The basic philosophy, if you want to know can someone do something, ask them to do it. That's absolutely revolutionary.
What's your biggest frustration?
As far as the outcomes of medical education, the outcome is effective health care. And that's where I really feel totally defeated. Because it's nice to put up all these, an effective doctor does X, Y, and Z. But you have absolutely no evidence that that is connected at all with outcomes. It's a very long chain of inference.
What do you think the role or the significance of an instructional designer is?
I think professional educators make faculty a little more conscious about instructional technique through collegial exchanges of ideas, brainstorming, and bringing other perspectives, and serving as darn good resources for collaboration. If you want a neurosurgeon, you go get the neurosurgeon. And that's what we did. We provided a kind of specialized resource. If someone wanted to know how to organize a course or something, you suggested some alternative ways, and they went off and worked on it. You didn't try to run the show. You tried to be a good resource.
Mrs. McGuire, what would you say is the biggest issue in medical education today? And what do you think we could do about it?
We have lobbied long and hard for problem-based learning, community-based programs, small group instruction. We have studied interpersonal interactions in such settings ad nauseum. We have faithfully documented performances on national multiple choice tests to show that the recommended programs do not jeopardize participants with respect to short-term memory of isolated facts. And finally, we are awash with perceptual data from students suggesting that, as compared with graduates from more traditional schools, students in the innovative programs are more enthusiastic, more motivated, and perhaps more self-directed, and that they feel more confident about dealing with common problems in the workup and management of patients, and prepared to assume their responsibilities as physicians. Fine, I'm happy for them. But as a prospective patient and an actual taxpayer, all I want to know is whether or not they deliver better care than do graduates of more conventional programs, and, if so, whether their superiority is worth the cost in resources. I submit that we have hardly a clue about the answer to that question. Furthermore, to obtain any answer at all, we're going to have to learn how to measure educational impact in terms of healthcare outcomes. I submit that we hardly have a clue about the answer to that question. Furthermore, to obtain any answer at all, we're going to have to learn how to measure educational impact in terms of healthcare outcomes. Thank you for your time, Mrs. McGuire.